also serve as the municipal's emergency management coordinator. So Marty and I got together, we collaborated a little bit. We were gonna just make this on wildfire and wildfire prevention since we are into our New Jersey wildfire season. Just a disclaimer with that, everybody, normally it's between March 15th and May 15th, but wildfire season in our state runs 365 days a year. Depends on weather, really weather driven, but we have the topography, the vegetation, all that we could actually have significant wildfires over the winter and into the fall. So we try to practice those wildfire prevention methods all year round. So just a little bit about me. If you don't know me, most folks in here do know me. I got here in 1966. I'm an Army brat. Got here by Junior Larry Augustoni, brought me here. And I've had my roots firmly planted in this municipality since then. And enjoyed every bit of it. I was educated here. I've worked many, many positions in the municipality. I retired in 2019 from the New Jersey State Fire Marshal's office, where I served as the regional fire coordinator for the Shore region, which I really didn't work. It was a great job. I've been very, very blessed all my life, not only being here, but being involved in our fire department downtown as a young man. When it was the Brownsville Volunteer Fire Company, that's where I cut my teeth. But I've been very, very blessed, and most of my blessings have come from this community. I got educated, I was employed by this community. Like I said, it gave me, in the fire service, it gave me an opportunity to end my paying career as the regional, which was a very, very important job. I was involved in a lot of incidents. I was actually the point person for Hurricane, Sandy. So we actually brought a federal team in to help us mitigate that emergency, and I was the lead person on there. So I've been very, very blessed. Like I said, I got to see fire departments all over our state, from High Point to Cape May, and I was able to bring some of those opportunities here to the municipality to our folks. So that's me in a nutshell. I was a police dispatcher for many years. I was the zoning officer here for many years. I was the recycling coordinator for a very short stint. So I've done a lot of stuff. And like I said, when I retired in 19, I started going up to the town and kind of working. I don't think I am retired. I think I work harder now than I ever worked before, but I enjoy it. We have a great fire department. It is the honor of my life to lead those men and women. I have some of them with me tonight, and I'd just like to introduce them to you, if I may, please. I'll start with my fire school mate, Captain Lucas. Sue's been in the department for about 52 years. Her and I started together. I'll actually be in 51 years next month, so my birthday. Our new secretary, Jennifer Deeds, you probably recognize Jen. Firefighter Justin Swartwood. He's the young one here. And firefighter Ryan Mead. Ryan also served as the EMS captain, chief, I should say, from the Brownsville Emergency Squad. His son's one of our per diem firefighters, and he's also works for Robbinsville Fire Department, so which is really, 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 really cool. So, but this whole thing's been really my life. That's why I put a lot of energy into it. My mother told me when I was born, when the doctor grabbed me, I had a fire helmet on. I don't know how true that is, but she said that's what she knew I was going to be a firefighter. It's been a great, great journey for me, and when it's all said and done, it'll be the blessing of my life. Like I said, the blog, it's been a great, great ride. So, so anyway, what brought us here tonight was a little bit of fire prevention education, and just a little bit about the fire department, fire company. So everybody knows we are now a consolidated unit. We became a fire department in 2009, and in 2013, the fire companies merged as one. So we have, once again, we're very, very lucky. Our government is extremely gracious to us, not only in giving us our needs and taking care of us, to make sure we have the equipment to come out and protect you folks and protect ourselves. So we're kind of spoiled. I will say we're spoiled. They just bought the community, I should say, not us. They just bought the community a brand new fire truck that should be here sometime next year. And we're working on a lot of plans. I see too much of President Harper. We're always working on something. So we have a great team up there working, and everybody is engaged, and they are truly committed to the safety of the public. So we appreciate that as firefighters, first responders, so what I'd like to do tonight, I have a DVD that Justin's going to try to put on for me, because I'm technically incompetent, but it's called Do You Have What It Takes? And this is put on by the New Jersey Forest Fire Service, and that'll kind of bring us into what our point of being here tonight is. So with that, then I'm going to come back and bore you with some statistics, show you a real neat graph we put up that was done by the Forest Fire Service for us, and then we'll talk a little bit about some fire safety, and I'll entertain some questions. Hopefully I can answer them. And then I know you've been over to our table. We have a lot of goodies over there. A lot of good educational materials are there in case you need anything for your home. A lot of fire safety material there. So once again, the town doesn't spare any expense to try to get this message out to you. And you know, everybody, when you have a presentation, everybody kind of worries about, am I too far out? Everybody kind of worries, like who's going to show up. So we have a little thing in the fire service. If one person shows up and we're able to communicate a message to that one person and save one life, then we're way ahead of it. But I'm glad this is a nice turnout. I hope to do this a couple times, but like I said, one person shows up and we are able to share something with them, save their lives, then it was a positive evening. So let's watch this video, and I'm going to tell you right now, if Justin can't get it going, we're in trouble. There we go. Did everybody hear that?
Creating a wildfire defensible space zone takes little effort, but could provide great benefit to homeowners in the event of a wildfire. The New Jersey Forest Fire Service wants to know, do you have what it takes? 100 feet. That may be all it takes to protect your home from wildfire. Defensible space is the area surrounding your home. It must be well maintained and clear of debris. Usually 100 feet surrounding a structure is considered adequate defensible space. To create defensible space, the landscape within 100 feet around the structure is modified. If you have less than 100 feet, consider your property line the area of defensible space. This home is beautifully landscaped and still provides safety for the homeowner and his family by having adequate defensible space. On this property, only some trees had to be removed to minimize their canopies from touching. The landowner has, however, done a good job clearing out understory fuels, debris, and vegetation that accumulated during the winter months. Dry leaves and pine needles like these are examples of fine fuels that put your home in danger. Not many people are aware that in New Jersey, spring and fall are the peak fire seasons. That's because the fuels on the ground are thickest during these times, and the weather is usually dry and warm. One live ember from a wildfire is all it takes to ignite fine fuels and cause a fire. Other items within the 100 feet that may need attention to create defensible space include dense shrubs with an abundance of dead twigs and leaves that can act as ladder fuels, which allow fire to move from the ground to the treetops. Low limbs and overhanging branches, touching treetops that could allow fire to spread quickly, pine needles and debris in the gutters. Think about all the time Forest Fire Service believes in educating our residents about wildfire prevention and protection. Take the time to check out our website at njwildfire.org for additional fire prevention information. We're dedicated to protecting lives, property, and natural resources from the devastation of wildfires. So, do you have what it takes? 100 feet.
Lights, they think you think. So that puts the nut in the shelf for us. Over on the table, we do have a pamphlet that we help produce. We were involved in a program, the Community Wildfire Prevention Program, where we received about a $5,000 grant. We went out and identified different areas and how we can mitigate them. And in that program, we were able to produce a pamphlet with the Forest Fire Services assistance. So we do offer that service to come out and do a survey of your property. You can contact my office at the municipal building. It's on our website. We have a wildfire section on the website, and who you email to get that consultation. We'll come out and score your property for you, and then of course give you some suggestions on how to prevent it. It's very, very easy to do that. We're right. In fact, I was thinking about it as I came today. Remember last year we had that bad fire, the Jones Road fire? It was a year ago. That's hard to believe. It was like 7,500 acres. So our departments were down there providing mutual aid to Ocean County. So if you're interested in that, that is something we do, and we would be more than glad to come out with our team and inspect your property. We're only there to inspect for wildfire, nothing else. So, and I'm going to pass this around so you can look at something while I'm talking. This is our fire hazard. This is a mitigation, and not a mitigation. This is a fire hazard map. Probably be able to find your. I know it's real busy, but you could probably find your property on there, and I'll tell you basically if you're in a low area of fire, risk for fire, high. And that website that was on there, what I'll do is I have another website I'll share with Marty, and she can push it out to you guys. There's a tool on there that you can go on, and it'll let you do your own assessment. But brings this map up. It's got all kinds of great tools on there to help you make your defensible space and so forth. So let me get my eyeballs on here. We've had some pretty bad fires recently. In 2023, we had 711 acre fire off of White Spogs, off of Pasadena Road up by the old dump on City Line Road. That burned for quite a few days. And some fires here in the township. I can go back to 1925 if we want to do that. But, so and believe it or not, in 25 we had a 9,000 acre fire in the township. 1934 or 35 we had a 320 acre fire. I'm trying to find the 55 fire. Looks like we had two major fires in 55, a 200 acre fire and a 700 acre fire. One of those fires was over on the south side of the lake, from what the elders tell me. It got in there, and we had a fire in the 80s off of Bishop Street, which turned out to be, anybody know Billy Ridgway? He owns the Bluebirds and stuff like he did. So back in his property behind where the Emmonses lived. That was probably a couple of hundred acres. And then we had a fire on Spring Lake Boulevard not too long ago, with about 200 and some acres. And then we had one up off 70, just between Spring Lake and North Branch. We had about I think that was like 200-300 acres. That was on my birthday. Imagine that. They said you had to have a fire to have people show up at your birthday. So. That was Bath and Brook. That was 487 acres. 92, we had a 2,800 acre fire here. So I'll pass this around too. It's got all of our historical fires, and it also shows you where they were. So you can kind of, of course, correspondent if you want to look at that. And of course, the big one, there's always in the fire service, we call that the big one, which happened in April of 1963. And that fire started in New Lisbon. And the cause of the fire was listed as trash, rubbish. There was a guy burning. He got out of the barrel. It was a bad day all over the state. There were a lot of fires burning in the state. This thing took off. It wiped out some of Presidential Lakes, wiped out most of the country lakes, and they stopped it in Barnegat. And it burned, they said, a total of 76,000 acres. It was the largest wildfire of that day. So, and let's see, that 186 houses, 197 outbuildings, and it traveled 21 miles. $8.5 million in damage. Imagine that. Look at that real estate. That's remarkable to think that it started somewhere off of, and I think it was off of New Lisbon, or what we would know as 4 Mile Road right now. And it just headed there. And you can still see, if you're walking through that part of that neck of the woods, you actually can see some of the burns still there. And I know Bill Anderson, who used to be a school bus driver here, lived up off of Pole Bridge Drive. He was a firefighter at Brownsville, but he was also the fire warden. And he got severely burned then. His truck, he was on the Cumster Trail when it was a railroad track, and he got hung up, and the head fire hit him. So a lot of those guys are still around, so we got some education with that. That was one of our biggest fires. So the best way you can do is, like, when you go home tonight, take one of those pamphlets and it gives you some suggestions about making your defensible space. Check your vegetation. Look, we're all, because some of us are really nestled in the woods. Pine needles in your what do they call them? Gutters. Thank you. And the gutters. Thank you. And the gutters. Even your plants, try to get drought resistant plants for your shrubbery if you can do that, so that they don't dry out. Now, between now and May, the weather is really, really crazy. There's a lot of wind, a lot of fronts coming through because we're in the process of changing seasons. And when it does rain, believe it or not, the trees are drinking, and that's what's happening. So all the places that would lay, it just takes the water right out. Because people say, we hear this all the time, how could you have such a bad fire yesterday? It rained the day before. Well, the sun, there's no leaves on the tree, so the ground is dry. It gets absorbed by that sun and dries it out. What he was saying about what we call ladder fuels. So all that debris from the fall, from the winter, is on the ground. There's no protection for it, so it's drying out because the sun is beating on it, because the trees aren't completely out yet, so they have no shade. Fire comes along, it just picks up. All it needs is a little bit of wind. We've seen the humidities last year were dropping into the teens. We had a couple of days where the humidities were in the single digits. That's bad. You get a wind going, and heat, wind, and humidity, and you got a problem. Doesn't really matter where you're at, fire can spread pretty quick. So the more we do to prepare ourselves, like with the defensible space, make sure that debris is away from our house, that we can get in, pull a line, and protect your property until the fire passes, it's a leg up for you guys. But like I said, the funny thing we hear from everybody is, well, it just rained the other day. Well, during this period of time, all that water is being absorbed by the ground. It's sucking it right up, and trees are drinking because they haven't drank. And then if you have a particularly dry winter, we're lucky this year, a lot of snow, but they said the swamps aren't really as filled as they're supposed to be. So that's another thing. If you notice, the swamps are dry, and we use those swamps as fire breaks when we're lighting back fire to stop a wildfire. But if they're dry, those cedars, they're like matchsticks when they go through. And the other thing too, you saw there was a picture in there where the fire was up above the trees. That's called a head fire, and it does crowning. It will honestly jump from tree to tree. It will spot. We show the firefighters every year. We do a class on triage, on structural triage, and preparing ourselves for wildfire season. We show them this really cool video that the scientists did on embers, and how many embers are generated from one pine tree. It's in the millions, and these all go up in the air. That's why there's some, they call them spot fires. So even though the fire's here, it could be spotting a mile and a half in front of the fire. And that's the other problem you run into, because they drop, and they drop, a million embers drops, there's a problem. And then it turns into, especially if it goes undetected, then you have another big fire. So that's why when this stuff starts happening, that's why we're a little dicey, because we're trying to be all over the place. And even if the fire is coming and there's a spot fire, the fire tower may not be able to see it because there's so much smoke they can't see the spot fire. And spot fires are dangerous because the firefighters may not even know about it, and it could catch up to us. So a lot of moving parts when we're doing this stuff. So we, especially here, we need to be very cognizant about that. That doesn't mean we should live in fear. You know, we just do the right things, take the right precautions, clean our property when we should, make sure those gutters are cleaned up, make sure you're buying the right vegetation for your property, clean it up. Even the junk we have in our yards, when that head fire comes, it's hot. It's going to set all that stuff on fire. And so the more we clean up, and the fire will probably slow down. Like I said, the one yard we saw, we've seen that. The head will come to it, knock it right out. And there's only so much that the Forest Fire Service can do with the controlled burning, which they're doing now. So they're stopped. That point that they're allowed to do it, they've stopped doing any controlled burning. The weather was very uncooperative this year for controlled burning. So our warden didn't get the prescribed burns in that he wanted. And they really don't get into the residential areas, so it's still a problem, but where there's big pieces of property where the fire can come into a town, that's where they go out and they try to manage that. And so that if it is a big fire, they can try to manage it through the breaks and whatever control methods they put out there with a controlled burn. But they didn't burn a lot of acreage this year at all. So, does anybody have any questions on that part? Do you have any questions about wildfire? Like I said, I'm going to give Marty the website. And if you go on there, you can register and actually become a user of the tool. So you can go in there and you can do all kinds of stuff. It's a really neat website they came up with. And it dives into this, but it also, you now can get alerts on your phone for, I believe, the type of fire day it is. During fire season, they always broadcast what fire day it is. If it's a bad fire day, if it's a low fire day, red flag warning, and we do the same thing. So whenever we receive a red flag warning from the National Weather Service, we send that out via Facebook and Nixle to let everybody know what's going on, and we try to post it on our nice marquees we got now, so we can really get that message out. So what you can do is watch the weather. In my emergency management hat, I tell everybody, watch the weather. So we know we're getting into what? Hurricane season in a couple of months. Right now we're in a time because the seasons are changing. Thunderstorms, tornadic activity. So you should always be watching the weather because that's what drives us. So if you know something bad's coming, and you're going to know if we're getting into severe fire weather, you should pay attention to that. Just like in a weather situation, you should have a plan because we may have to evacuate you. So we may tell you to shelter in place, depending upon what the fire is doing. And of course, the fire does what the fire wants to do. It's driven, it's wind driven or it's weather driven, depending upon the fuels, the wind direction, a lot of things. And of course, like I said, the fuels that are there are really what's important. So we kind of know, especially what areas are could be prone to us. Like right now, our focus is the south side of the lake. Has always been. We haven't had a bad fire there in years, and you can't burn, controlled burn on the south side of the lake. So we watch that very, very closely, and we know some areas that if we should have a fire, then we got to get there pretty quick and get ready. Because the other thing is, the Forest Fire Service may not be able to get into the fire, and there's a lot of these motorcycle ATV paths that unfortunately people go in and they party, and you saw that lately too. Like last year, this fire here, the Jones Mill fire, guy he was burning pallets, and some of the major big fires, it's been from campfires. Kids go out and party, and they think they have the fire out. They tried to put the fire out, poured water on it. Next day, a front comes through, and we'll fire it out, the ashes, because it's in the ground. They thought, even if they cover it up with dirt, it's probably still burning, and that's what happens. The spark gets out, and if the conditions are right, boy, you got a wildfire. And that's one of our concerns back there, because they know they're going back there, and it's so secluded. It would probably we'd probably have to use aircraft to get in there and start dumping on it. Hopefully, we got some good tower operators, so they'll probably see it, and we can probably jump on it. We've got a very, very good fire warden here. We're very blessed to have him, John Erlin. He comes from a long line. His son's a fire warden. His pop is a retired fire warden. Smart guys, good tactician. So we're lucky to have him protecting our community. So, any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Could you explain the regulations with backyard fire pits?
Sure. So we have an ordinance in the town that prohibits any unlawful burning. If you need anything, the state considers anything that's on the ground, you need a permit. The only thing you can burn is a recreational fire, campfire. So you can go over to Brendan Burn State Park, and they usually issue you a 90-day permit, but it's a recreational permit. So you can't go in your backyard and burn your leaves. You can't go in your backyard and burn 2,000 square feet of wood. Seen that, and you're not going to get a permit for that. Those fines are pretty stiff. State applies those fines pretty quickly. And of course, we have an ordinance that backs that up. So, believe it or not, last week when it was warm and windy, we had people burning piles of leaves in their yard. Thought it was perfectly good. Harry went with me on a ride to one of those. So, but yeah, and you're looking at them like, you do know where you live, right? Yeah, I thought it was legal. So, but we usually don't try to fine them unless they're uncooperative. Ask them to extinguish it. They normally do, and people, it truly is innocent. But anything that goes onto the ground, you don't need one for chimenea or anything that's elevated, but there's still a smoke law, and that's DEP. So if you're causing too much smoke, we can order you to extinguish it. And even if you have a permit and you're violating that permit, I'm a fire warden. I can make you surrender that permit to me. I made somebody do that not too long ago. I got on the phone to my boss and told him what was going on. He said, "Do you have the permit?" I said, "Nope." He says, "Go get the permit." I took the permit. The guy will never get another permit. So we can force you to surrender the permit to us. But just common sense. Everybody likes a little campfire in the back. You know, I go past it, you can tell if they're doing that, and, you know, and it's free. The permit is free. So. Yes, ma'am.
So what you're saying is if you build a brick circle in your front yard of your house, doesn't matter around my chairs around it, that is not lawful.
If it touches the ground, no.
So if you can have a wrought iron kind of elevated little thing that you would buy at Home Depot, and that would be okay.
If you're going to do that, I'll be more than glad to come over and look at it, because I don't know if you look good behind bars. So, I don't know if you look good behind bars. I'll come over and look at it. And we'll come over and look at it. But yeah, if it's elevated, This is New Jersey.
Yeah.
Figure that out. So you can have a roaring fire going in that chimney and it's, but remember, we can still come on there and tell you, hey, you got too much burning. Like the biggest size I believe they'll let you have is 4x4. The fire warden, when they write that permit, will write the size of the fire that you're allowed to have, the size of the pit. If you read the regulations, the only permit that they can issue, besides an ag burn, is, and that's the farmers can burn, they're allowed to, they come in, they're still required to get a permit. But you still need to get, if you're gonna have a campfire in your backyard, other than a grill, a chimney, or one of those elevated fire pits,
Yeah.
it requires to be permitted. That doesn't mean we can't make you put it out.
Okay.
So,
Because that was on my list to build this year. I'm like, well, I'm gonna nix that idea.
no, but you can just go right over there. They'll issue a permit up to, for 90 days, and they'll issue another one.
Okay.
They'll come out and inspect the pit, make sure it's not, if you put down 2x2, they're not gonna come out and make sure it's not 6x6.
Oh, yeah,
That's
okay.
so. I've seen some really nice jobs. And you're like, man, that thing's nice. You did a nice job on it. But we had one the other night. The guy, it was pretty Jayujic. He wasn't from the state, and thought he could do it. And the problem is, we got called out. There was smoke in the area, and but somebody called too, and they said there's smoke. There was a fire, and we rushed out there. And they were very cooperative. We told them what they had to do. I showed them. I said, they're not going to issue a permit for this, but if you make it smaller, they probably will. And it's a free rent. He said, no problem at all, put it out. We really don't have to come out looking for you. Trust me, you got one of those neighbors, they help us out. They call, and we go to certain houses all the time. And people just call, and I can issue a permit. So, like if I go the second time and it's really nothing, I go, okay, let's stop this. And I write the permit, give the permit to the resident. And you just have to call in. If you call into the communication center, I should have said that. John probably saw me saying that. They'll look, they'll tell you to read back the permit number, you read back and they won't even dispatch us. And that's all legal. But the permit is free. So if you are, if something does happen, I'm sure the judge knows it's free. He's gonna look at you like it's free. Why didn't you follow the rules? And then we tell you to watch the weather to make sure that you should not be burning no matter what. But I mean, summertime, everybody wants to have a little whatever in the backyard. We understand.
Call it when you put it out too.
Huh?
Call it when
Yeah. So all those instructions are right on the permit. Call before and after. Yes, sir.
Greg, how many active fire towers do we have in our
zone? So we have Lebanon, which is in Brendanburg, Apple Pie Hill. Cedar Ridge Tower can see over to us. Medford Tower can see over to us. And those are the ones that they really use to triangulate. If the fire is big, everybody. And did I say Medford? Okay. So yes, Lebanon is our lead. Apple Pie Hill, Cedar Bridge, and Medford. I think they can really see our town. So that's, when you hear them call out a fire, that's who he uses to triangulate it. And that's what they do. They have this, it's pretty cool. They guess the mileage. And just like everything else, if you're up in the tower for a couple of years, that smoke comes up, especially a couple of times, you know right where it is.
Are they 24/7?
No, they're only during when the sun comes up, the sun goes, like, they start around fire season, they go from 10 to 6 when, that hour. Now, they'll stay up if there's a fire. I've seen them working to the night, and weather permitting.
Right.
So, but, and then come, like, the winter or fall, their hours get adjusted, because of the daylight.
Right.
So, but they have gone up in the middle of the night, and we've had big fires, to see if they can see the fire, and if we can't find it, they'll try and triangulate it. So, it's a nice, peaceful job. Mrs.
So
Phillips.
Yes, since we are in the pine land surrounded by organic pines and everything, our township has a shelter accessible to use it, the if something happened in our developments.
Do we have a shelter?
Yeah,
So mainly we use the schools to send people to,
okay,
because the schools they can accommodate for either short-term or semi-long-term. When we're gonna get into a sheltering situation where it's a little extended, then we'll be talking to the Red Cross. The Red Cross comes in and inspects our facility. So the high school right now is like our main shelter, because the elementary schools, we found out, are just not accommodating. We were trying to cut a deal with the schools, with the Harper Wiley School, because that's completely shut down. So we were working something out with them as a temporary shelter, move everybody, then figure out where we're gonna go. We just had this, believe it or not, we just had this conversation not too long ago, like last month. I was at one of our meetings, and we're getting with the Red Cross again to go and inspect that. In fact, when we had the blizzard, the Aspen Hills Nursing Home lost power and their generator didn't kick on. And that caused a little bit of a stir. But we were able, JCP&L were able to get in there and get the lights back on before it got too big of a deal. So what we did, as soon as we got that information, we started coordinating. We called the school, got them on a standby mode in case we needed something, and then if we had to pull the trigger, then we could get everybody over there, transportation. So with evacuations, they're very, very dicey, and so if we can do a shelter in place, we try to do a shelter in place. It's because when you tell people they got to leave their houses, because I'll tell you, I know my dog is going with me. I'll tell you that. So that's another part you got to think of. You know, when we had Katrina, one of the bad hurricanes we had here, just jokingly, I told one of our former mayors that I had to bring my dog up, and he jokingly said to me, "Well, we can't have animals in here." I said, "Well, then go find an emergency management coordinator, because I'm not coming out there without my son." I won that battle. So they just fed him too many Cheetos that night. So we also have to look at that, and the disabled, all those things we look at. But to answer your question, yeah. So we would give you direction on where to go. But if we can choose to shelter in place, if we think that that's going to be safe enough, we would probably say to do that first. We may not be able to do that, and then we would tell you where you have to go. We'll probably get you out of the development and head you over someplace, and probably the high school.
yeah, because as a firefighter myself, I know when I was going to the fire school, we discussed that and everything with the county, that in the future, we live residential like the land development in the township, and we are surrounded by the woods, by the forest. That means either way across the lake, they are more closer to the fires than we are in the other side, but we get in and they go there in the back.
Oh yeah. Wisconsin's not. There's some issues back there. There's some, and you look on that map. When you look at Wisconsin, we've had some fires back there. People come into the development of Presidential Lakes and they look around and see a lot of oak trees, and they don't think oak trees will burn. Trust me, oak trees will burn.
Oh, yes.
They'll, once again, the weather, no pun intended here, precipitates that. And if we have a dry spell, those leaves will get dry. I was on a fire when I was a lot younger at 539 and 72, which when it comes out there, if you drive, there's nothing but a patch of oak that goes out to the highway to 72. And myself and Dick Emmons were on a truck, and the fire was burning through those oaks as hard as it was through the pines. That's the other thing about the pine trees. They're very short, and the scrub pine, they burn like, I forget how many gallons of gasoline they have, but they burn like a torch. And this, I was like looking at this thing like, holy moly. So it could happen. And then the other thing that people always focus on the trees, like the trees are burning. It's the ground. That's what's causing. So the ground catches fire. It's called a ladder fuel. It pushes up. You got all that heat down there. So you have all that. That's what's going to catch fire. All that junk in your yard and the leaves and all that stuff. That's what's going to catch fire first. Your flower beds, all that stuff. And that's that. Then you got fires all over the place. So to think that, hey, I'm okay because I got a bunch of green oaks around me, you may not be. And there, like I said, there's a significant amount of woods behind Presidential Lakes that a head fire could probably come into the development. Now, it may steam out if it hits the pits and stuff like that. And the fire step starts over in Woodland Township, we're gonna do everything we can to keep it over there. So, but we got a plan, we have resources, you know, if we gotta move you out, we got a plan for that too, we'll get you out the highway.
We also had a fire lane in both sides.
Yep.
In Route 7, Presidential Lake and Louisville Pond, you have a fire lane
Right.
on one side, a fire lane on the other side. And those people, there is,
Well, that backside of Whispering Pines. If you go to the backside of Whispering Pines, just drive down there and look at the vegetation. Yeah, that whole right. You're absolutely right. But if you go to that backside of Whispering Pines, and you just take a look in those woods. There's a lot of scrub pine in there. So, but we do have evacuation points. They're trying to. The county's trying to come up with a couple of countywide evacuation areas, but that's a little difficult because, you know, they've got to be somewhere. So they may want to ask, they could ask like Pemberton Township, hey, listen, can you be like a county, which means we get everybody. I don't mean this with any disrespect. I'm more concerned about taking care of our folks. So they come first. That's what, you know, that's why I took an oath for it, protect all you, so you come first. So we'll help if there's something else going on and we're not impacted by it. We'll certainly help our neighbors, but you guys come first. Yes, sir.
Question about evacuation.
Mhm.
How, what is your, you guys must have been doing some kind of planning. What do you think is going to be the effective notification of our population when you send out an evacuation notice or a shelter-in-place notice? I mean, not everybody is having connections like a lot of people here may have. I mean, there are a lot of people who just don't have that.
So,
The only thing they have is a phone.
so we do have reverse 911.
Okay.
That's what, I don't know what they're calling it this week. They've changed it so many times. Because what happens is this contract runs out, then they hire these people to do it. So I just call it reverse 911. We have a Nexus system. We have Facebook. The state has a device. So we could call the state emergency operations center and ask them to send something out for us. So we're even able to do it at the municipal building.
Right.
And we can, it brings up a map. We can tell the map where we want the signal, because our municipality is so huge that we've had weather events on the west end of town. Nobody even knows what's going on the east end. It's beautiful out. They think you're nuts. Like, what do you mean? You know, it's beautiful here. It's so big. And also, our topography affects the weather. You could go up to City Line Avenue, up on the top of what's that? The southeast corner of southeast corner of our town, and the weather up there could be completely different what's going on in Browns Mills. So that stuff might not even make it out there. We are seeing a lot of tornadoes in the area. We added an EF0. Was it last year or the year before? It was caught it on ring camera. It's cool. We went up there and you could see it. The National Weather Service came up. We called them. They came in. They tracked it. So that stuff can happen. That gets me back to what I said in the beginning. Pay attention. You see stuff starting to happen, pay attention, because we're going to start sending stuff out to the public if we think we're going to be affected by it. Unfortunately, tornadoes are unpredictable, but they're certainly going to, the weather service is going to tell you that there's a potential for them, so you should pay attention. But to answer your question, if we can't get to it because we're moving around, we can call the county, we can tell the county exactly where we want the circle to be, and they'll send it. Now, you could think it's one of those telemarketers calling, but it does come up on your phone. It'll say emergency management, and there'll be a message, and we'll give instructions.
Do you have an access to the TV channel for?
The local channel? Yes, they'll let us over there. We have to get there. We try to get message to them to push it out. That's one good thing with all the social media platforms we can get that out pretty quick. If you're not on our Nixle, once again, go to our website. It tells you, they send out all kinds of stuff on there. And, but like the TV, the computer, your power's gotta be on.
Right.
But at least with your phone, your cell phone, you'll get a message. The state, like I said, the state they can just send a message out to every cell phone, and that's part of it. They have to be able to do that. That's a requirement. So, and you know that, like when we get with the kids,
Amber?
Amber.
That was my question I was asking.
They sent one on me last week.
Huh?
They sent one out on me last week.
I'm sorry, I had to do it. So when the state sent it out, you mentioned phone number, I was actually, can you do like an Amber Alert style of notification, so it's loud, everybody hears it, and everybody knows what it's all, it's an emergency?
Yes, so I'm assuming, Donovan, that when they do that, that's what you're gonna, like you know when we get the weather alerts, it does that. So, I'm not sure, I asked a couple times when we send out messages, because when we send out messages on that, the reverse 911, we called a couple people, did you get it? I said, no, we didn't get it. And then I found out you have to sign up for it. The state, you don't have to sign up. So if you go to our website, once again, you have to actually go on and register. But we can call the state, and what we were all used to when we were growing up, the emergency broadcast system. That's what it is. So they can send a signal right out. And the TV. But the most effective way to respond to emergency is to be prepared. That's the best way. 72 hours. If you ever worked up in the emergency operations center, it's unbelievable because people are, the storm passes, and as soon as the storm passes, the phone starts. When you coming over here, when you do this, 65 square miles, some 30,000 people. We got a lot of territory to cover, especially as there's a lot of trees down. Once again, we're lucky. We have a dynamic road department or the public works department. A lot of chainsaws. We try to get out in front of it. We send a damage assessment team out. The police are our eyes and ears. They're out there, so we try to get out, and then we'll try to develop a plan from the worst to the least and get it open. My concern is get all the major roads open so you guys can start driving. That's important. It's funny, as soon as everybody can go to Domino's, they chill out. I gotta go to Bobo's, chill out. I gotta go to the Pig and Whistle, they double chill out, So once you can get people out of their homes and they can transverse, stuff starts. Now, some of them, I wish we could keep them in their houses, because you know what they do. They got to ride around and see what's going on. Next thing you know, they're stuck in the snow. And that's one thing we try not to get beat up about is, and then the other, we have nothing to do with the power. We get beat up. They think that we can turn the power on and off. We have a representative that we can call, just like everybody else that has a representative at Jersey Central Power and Light, and they prioritize. And the bottom line is, if they have 100,000 people out over here, and you have 14,000 people out in Pemberton Township, they're taking care of the 100,000 people. Now they have a priority list. And you can, through your electric company, you can get on that. Well water, if you have somebody disabled in the house, hospitals, any emergency infrastructure, they have to bring up first. That's required. But we try to communicate with them and try to get some type of plan. What do they think they'll be doing, so that we can try to communicate that to everybody. But we can't force them to do anything. And that is a problem, because we have very limited resources. And many moons ago, there was a power line that came down, and they put cones around it, and everybody decided to leave, and the resident walked out, got electrocuted. Obviously, he could tell us, I don't know, it's like drinking hot coffee from McDonald's. So he got electrocuted, right? Sued everybody. The fire department got everybody got found liable. The police department said, I thought the fire department was handling it, and the judge said, well, the fire department's supposed to stay there. So technically, if we're watching a wire and your house catches fire, we can't even leave because there could be somebody could step up. So what we try to do is fire, police, DPW will come and watch it for us because we only have so many people. And once again, 65 square mile. Like the police, they only have so many people. If it's a big emergency, then, you know, once again, we plan to, we start calling extra people in, the police do. We try to put our duty crews on and so forth to help out. And mutual aid becomes non-existent because they're, just like this last snowstorm. So I'm in a briefing, and they actually said this in the briefing. They wanted to make sure we all understood. There'll be no mutual aid. Don't count on mutual aid. It's going to be so bad, the impact on every other community, you're going to have to count on yourselves to get this stuff done. Now, it didn't turn out to be that way. We were able to call for help if you needed it. We lucked out with that. But once again, I can't stress enough about preparedness. Like 72 hours, and you mean that, you know, especially if you have well water, you should be filling up, getting them jugs ready, or a generator. Something else you want to be careful with those, but you need to prepare because there's only so much we can do because we're probably still in the emergency mode this first 72. We're out there taking care of people that are truly hurt or whatever that, you know, they're getting the roads cleared for us, we're cutting trees, we're trying to figure out where those power lines are down. So we got a lot of moving dynamic parts. So for the first 72, that's should be on you guys. And that's emergency preparedness 101. They taught you that. So that was a good discussion. Thank you. So questions? Go ahead.
Anybody else?
They did backburning off of Magnolia Road, and I saw that they had smaller pines, like new growth pines. How come they turn yellow after they backburn?
I think it's something to do. It probably takes the what's that nitrogen out of them or something.
So are they dead?
No, they'll come back.
Okay.
That's one thing cool about the pines. So they do a lot of, so they do that twofold. The Forest Fire Service actually does control burning for the fact to control fire. But they do take some environmentalists because it regenerates the ground. When those pine cones, they burst and all those seedlings will go around. And you notice too, if you go by there another couple of weeks, that place will be totally green. Regenerates the nutrients all go in there. But the pine cones really do burst. And that's the only way they can spawn their seeds, is with heat. It's the only, I think that's the only way a pine tree can. I think it's the only one of the trees that does that. But yeah, I just think it takes some of the nutrients out and it turns it. But I'll find out. I really don't know, but I'm making this up right now. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But and the heat, and they try not to burn them too hot because then you can damage it. It's like everybody know what Mount Laurel is? It's real pretty. Remember that like kind of disappeared? They were having a lot of fires where that does not like heat. It burns rapidly. It does not like heat. So when I used to go out burning, those wardens would watch you. Like when you'd have to slow movement towards them, either burn around them and then burn very slowly towards them. They didn't, because they're beautiful. And they're kind of synonymous with New Jersey. So they disappeared and found out that not only, I think it was partly disease too, but a lot of fires were taking them out. So we just take our time when they go around. But I do see them, they're coming back. You see them all up in the forest. They're everywhere. They're beautiful. You know? But we try, even when you do a controlled burn, you try to burn very, very slowly because the heat could damage a plant and it'll never come back. And you can see that. I mean, you go to some where we had some wildfires, some bad wildfires, they're still, it's not coming back. Still ain't coming back. Good question. Anything else?
I was going to ask, do you ever think the fire department's ever going to, over the next maybe 10 years, move into maybe a paid fire department?
No comment. I'll tell you, my years of experience dealing with the government, no comment.
Ah,
That's not up to me.
I know in Northern Trump it's illegal to take it out from the forest. I was a firefighter one day when they took us out in the forest. In the warden, the forest officer told us, if you ever see anybody pulling any Northern Trump out for a
Oh, yeah,
truck,
yeah.
that's illegal.
That's like the lady slipper. The lady slipper is protected.
That's illegal to use for
Okay, I'm just gonna move on to, and then we can get up to, if you want to go over and get some information, but, I don't know what's on here. But I do encourage you to grab this pamphlet. It's got a lot of information in it. So, on the fire department side, last year in 2025, we ran 1,013 calls. We had 27 structure fires, unfortunately one fatality. Firefighters, about 4,885 hours. Spend between training and answering calls. We had 41 training sessions. So I know it's kind of funny, I was talking to somebody one day and he said, man, you guys don't have a lot of calls. I thought the town size would be busy, and I looked at him and I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, that fire whistle downtown hasn't gone off in years. I said, yeah, because the fire whistle ain't been up for 15 years. So, the old timers, we used to blow the siren to let everybody know there was a call, because we didn't have pagers. We didn't have cell phones that alert us. And of course, when some people moved from out of town and they came in, they started complaining about the noise. But that's not the real reason why we took it down. Harry's group did, because he got a lot of people from out of town. Not Harry's group, that's how we grew up, with fire whistles. But the department, so what are we, in the 4th month of the year? We're well over 300 calls already. So we answer between 3 to 5 calls a day. We train a couple times a month, besides answering calls. We do have, the township was gracious enough to put on some per diems during the day to take to help with the daytime response, because that's the hardest. But we don't have too many of those, although we know we are allowed to have more than what we have. But there's gear issues, all kinds of logistical issues with them. But they have a job, so they're full-time jobs. So we're like our part-time, and most of them are firefighters. So if they come off a shift, they may not be able to come off a shift. They may pick up a shift, and then you got to cancel the shift because they can't show up. So a lot of moving parts, but we're trying. We're always looking at volunteers. We are still recruiting. We recruit. We have signs up. We have brochures. In fact, we're getting with Kenny's going to be helping us out. Kenny Willis, Donovan, and we got a couple other people. We're going to talk to Mrs. Reynolds. She helped us out years ago to see if we can try to entice more membership. But Marty and I were talking about this at the beginning. It's everywhere. It's we talk to folks from the VFW. They're not recruited. Some of the other organizations that Marty belongs to, they're not recruited. But it's out there. Firefighters become firefighters to fight fire. We have a lot of calls. The education that we give is 260 plus hours that you have to go to school. So that's twice a week or once on Sundays. They have a Sunday class. We have 4 in class right now. So as soon as they come out, they'll be on the trucks with us. Like so many of the problems, like if we had 20 people, if I left here and 20 people joined the fire department and they were not trained already, they would not be able to fight the fire until January of 2027 because of the training. And the schools only run like twice a year, 2 sessions, right? Ryan's an instructor over there. So they do 2 sessions. Now we can send them other places, but they're all in the same boat as us. So if we go out of county for training for the volunteers, they they go, there's a list, so they go at the bottom of the list. And, right, so I think their class right now, they have 30 some in it. But, so once these 4 get out, that'll be 4 we'll have that'll work on the truck. And then, believe it or not, the average volunteer firefighter is, you get them for about 3 to 5 years. And because you have life changes, it's not a job, even though it is a job. Life changes, they get girlfriends. So, they have life, like I said, we're going through that now. We have a bunch of guys who are super active. They got married, had kids, great plan. Now the kids are becoming sports age. So they're, and both parents are working. Believe it or not, we had some middle-aged people join, and they said they've been wanting to do it all their life. But the opportunity was now because the kids went away. So we're looking, we're looking at all of that, and it's with the amount of calls that the town has per year, per day, per month, the training demands, which you need to have. We have some people in our profession that are upset about the amount of hours. It's great, that's ludicrous. We need people trained because you're calling us at your worst time of your life, and you don't need somebody that's not trained to show up. There are different things in our department. You can be fire police officer, you can be a contributing member, which helps us fundraise. But we've had guys come and say, hey, I just want to drive the truck. Well, that's, unfortunately, with the regulations, you just can't drive the truck because you have to wear an airbag.
No, you need a Class D.
No, we don't. We're exempt from that. That's one thing we are exempt from. But you still have to wear an air pack, and the only way you can wear an air pack in the state of New Jersey is you have to go through fire school.
How many people do you need on a call?
So we have what they call a 2 in and 2 out rule. To make an interior structural attack, you need 2 guys outside, 2 guys inside. Now let's say there's 3 or 4 guys on the truck, and Ryan's driving, Jab's on there, and there's a couple other guys. If I pull up, I'm counted in that count, so we can go in and make the attack. The only time that goes out the window is if there's somebody trapped, then you can do whatever you have to do to go in and get them. But, and that's a safety thing. We're looking at that. The fire service is looking at that. Because I think it went well beyond what his intentions is, but we're looking at that. But it depends on how bad the fire is. If you came out and you hung out with us, let's say, all you have to do is fight one fire, and because you got to get, there's all kinds of jobs. You got to open up the roof. You got to deploy hose lines. You got to ventilate. You got all kinds of things. So they tell you want 17 people on the fire ground. Sir. Right? They want 17 people. We may not be able to get 17 people to your house if we're lucky because of how big the town is, because our mutual aid's coming from far. And then you're rolling out 3 over here, 2 over here, 4 over here. But we call for help. I mean, we have mutual aid agreement. We're lucky we have the joint base. Don't roll out with 5 guys or 4 guys. If we need more, we can get on the radio and call them. During the daytime, we call. We have New Egypt comes in, West Hampton will come in, Medford will come in. If it's a structure fire, that's when you need all those people, only for a structure fire.
Do the people from CERT also help? Because I've seen pictures of CERT from previous years. And
yeah, so CERT is just they're the Community Emergency Response Team. Dawn's a member of ours. So they're kind of like they're our backup. So they do all the things that like the fire. So they would help us out, not fighting fire. So actually they do all like a lot of logistical works. So we can answer the call. So we can respond actually to the emergency. But to firefight, you have to be trained. So you can't. And this is a litigious world, and I don't want my name in the paper for that. So, you can kill yourself. But
Chief, sure. 260 hours for firefighter 1 is just the bare basic to get into the board. Most of our guys are still going for firefighter 2, which is another, I think, 280 hours right now. A lot of guys are going for their EMP certification, which is several hundred hours, vehicle extrication, which we're responsible for, rescue intervention team, like, the training never stops. The training never stops. Our guys are constantly going to different academies, going for different courses. As Chief said, a lot of our guys are career firefighters other places, and they come back in the workforce. But with the per diem program, if they get mandated for work, they're mandated for work. If we have an emergency in Pemberton Township, like a blizzard, the whole state of New Jersey has a blizzard, and they're all forced to come to work. Me included. I retired from state as a major of state corrections. I work part-time for Florence Township as an EMT. There's an incident, I'm going to work, because that's what pays my bills. And we all love giving to the community and everything else, and we all break ourselves to do it. But how many certified firefighters do we have, Chief, for 64 square miles?
We're like, well, when the kids get out, we'll probably be back up to about 19.
For 64 square miles. So,
And we lost a couple last month, and that was all about time, because you know it's men and women in the fire service now. So you know, a girl meets a guy, gets married. A guy meets a girl, gets married. They have kids. They either move out of
they
town.
come back.
Huh? But they still come back.
There's hope. They come
When they get a
back.
little bit older, they come back. But I'm saying, you know, it's very, very hard to manage that. And then, you know, then you come into the summertime and it's like, okay, we're going on vacation. So if we have 3 or 4 guys, we're not like the police department where you can say, Alex, you're not going on vacation. All right? You're working.
All right.
So, no. But we can't mandatory anybody. So when we had, like this snowstorm that Ryan was talking about, we were lucky enough, we had 3 or 4 guys on, but we do have public works people that are in the fire department. The town lets them go to any call they want to go, so we come up with a plan. But at any given time, just to, you know, everybody could go out. I can't tell people not to go out. You gotta go shopping, you know. Everybody got a honey-do list. I've had guys tell me that we've been busy on Saturdays, and they'll come to the fire call and they go, "This is it," because she gave me that look when I left. And he said, "Unless you got a spare room, you know," and that's it. Vice versa. We do have an out-of-town program. Justin's in that. We have another gentleman that's in that. He's a career guy, but you know, this is everywhere. I belong to the National Volunteer Fire Association's Volunteer Fire Company, and you read the blog, and we're always trying to share what do we need to do. Now, just down the road from us, I was reading an article from the Whiting's Fire Company. They're doing great.
The chief, they also have a career department during the day too.
But their numbers are up. So I reached out to them. I talked to Donovan, I talked to Kenny. So maybe we're not seeing something. I'm not a proud guy, you know. Maybe we're doing something wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. So you know, I want to see how. First of all, I want to see how we can make it right. And so we're gonna meet up, try to come up with a plan. You know, we do know something we can do, but that doesn't put, you know, our junior program that we really haven't had for a while. And there's all kinds of things, and Ryan's been trying to get that up off the ground, but he's been patient, and there's all kinds of moving parts with that. Because it's not 1950 anymore. There's all kinds of laws with that. And you gotta watch yourself. Say the wrong thing around a person that's not of age, you got a problem. And right away, we're affiliated with the town, correct? And what does everybody think about the town? Deep pockets. So, but that doesn't mean we don't try it, right? So we're trying to see what we can do. We've been advertising. I haven't had an application come out of Country Lakes in 4 years. I haven't had an application come out of Presidential Lakes in 4 years. That young man is the last person that applied to be a firefighter in Presidential Lakes. And he's been with us for 4 years. Brownsville's, we get people. Population. And We just lost a young man. He, God bless him. His motorcycle was more important, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to ride his motorcycle. So, not saying anything bad against him. That's what he wants to do. God bless him. You know, and then we had some guys who had some, you know, they just too much because the pager's going off constantly going off. And after a while, you know, it's like, okay. And then you got to have a life. Can't be like me with no life. You know? So, and like I just told you, we're way into the 300 mark. And there's fire departments in this county that don't even do 200 calls a year. So we're like, there's departments that don't do 50 calls a year in this county. Last year, we were the busiest fire department in the county of Burlington, structural fire-wise. Fires. It's nothing to be proud of, but we were. And like I said, and then remember, what Ryan just said about the training, then we have other obligations. We're lucky, and I don't want to say anything to make their heads too big, because we have a former council person here that took very good care of us, and 2 council people here. We really don't want for too much. We're not years ago where we had to scrape every penny. They take good care of us. They really do. And they recognize that they would rather have us focusing on the mission instead of making the money. So we have like 2 or 3 events a year for to put money into the fire department, fire company.
Won't be an event this Saturday.
Yeah, there'll be an event this Saturday, I think. But they do, the Township Council, as the prior council did, takes very good care of us. And we don't really want for nothing. If we need something, it's no problem. If I want something, I gotta do a little dance. So it's a needs and a wants, but if the need is there, it's done. And I had a very good man took care of us, and Harry's been an exceptional partner with us. And he's a fire, we went to fire school together, Mary and I. So we have he comes down and bugs me while I'm trying to work. So, but anyways, we're hoping to turn this around. I don't know if we're going to try. We're going to try to turn around, get people. But once again, I don't want to give anybody any false sense of security. But the bottom line is, we could have 20 people join tomorrow. If they're not trained, we're waiting till January. That doesn't mean they can't do anything, but they're very limited. And we're talking about our junior program, maybe making a township already has the ordinance, so we don't have to go back to council for that. That's already set. But we got to look at the dynamics with that, like who's going to run it, and those people have to be trained. You know, so yes, ma'am.
You just mentioned that you have a junior program, that you guys approach the high school? Or
So-
you just mentioned you had a junior program?
We have. We've gone over and talked to the high school, and we engaged the young folks in conversation, and then we tell them about what they have to do, and then every one of them sitting there said, I'm leaving for college in June. We've already, Ryan and I've had this discussion, so we have a plan for that. But the problem is that they are leaving because there's no employment here. So they're leaving. And they're going away. It's not really like it when Mr. Dewey was growing up in here. I was growing up in here. You know, your friends joined the fire department, so you joined the fire department. I was telling that to Marty, her grandfather, and that, you know, people knew him, so they joined the BMIA. I knew, you know, hey, you're a volunteer firefighter? I joined. Or if my father was in the fire department, most likely my mother was in the auxiliary, and if they had girls, you know, we all hung out together, Christmas parties, all that. You got to know, that's who you usually wound up marrying. And when you married, it was, okay, they were used to the fire department. They were actually used to it. So was a family.
The 4 volunteers, the 4 recruit firefighters that we have right now that are going firefighter 1. 3 of the 4 have an ambition to become career firefighters. So we're gonna try to hold on to them for as long as we can hold on to them for, and build their knowledge base and their experience base, because we're a busy fire department. They get a lot of experience being out here in Pemberton. But we also know that if they get picked up by a career fire department, there's a good chance that they're probably gonna move on and we're gonna have to fill their shoes again too. And that's the dynamic of most of the younger people that are coming into the fire department, my son included. They're looking for career firefighter jobs. They know it's the greatest job in the world. They wanna get paid to do it. Things have changed. When I came into this business, there was very few career firefighter jobs. Now, you know, it's just like the police department. I work for a combination department for Florence Township. We're competing against the same talent pool for the police department and the same talent pool for other departments with that combination department. And it's the same with the volunteers, with the young people coming in. We're competing against career fire departments trying to get people to come in the door. And that's just the reality where we're at right now.
So the plus is, when you come, when we send you to school, you're certain, you get a national cert now. Where when we were in school, I didn't get that. So you'll get a piece of paper that you can use to go get that career job. And we're, all four folks that we picked up, and we were very lucky, I don't make his head too big, and even with Nick. So the last group of young folks that we got, we were very, very lucky. Because we talk to chiefs, I talk to chiefs, I belong to organizations, and they have some horror stories with their younger people. We don't, we're very lucky that the four that we picked up, Frank is an older person, but the three young people, they're goofy, which I hope, so I'm reliving some of my youth with them, but they're very dedicated, smart kids. We have, which we're very, very proud because of the diversity of our community. We have a female, African-American female, and 2 African-Americans, and then I think Frank is Latino, right? We call, Ayana, who's the African-American female, she's about this big, we call her the first sergeant. She keeps them in line. Whenever I need something, I call her up, I'm on it, chief, and she keeps them in line. Very aggressive, you can just see when she's at the fire station, she's in firefighting mode. And she cannot wait till June gets here. So they graduate and get on the back of that truck. That's just, we don't ride on the back, but that's what we say. She is super, super excited. And she will be such an asset, she is now, but she'll be such an asset to our community. She wants to be a firefighter.
Will we have a ceremony for them at like a council meeting to congratulate them?
It's not up to me, but we could. When they graduate, there is one. Who did? Not Donovan. Kendall did Black History Month. He did a segment on them. It's on YouTube, I think. So we're really excited about that. But we do have a ceremony. They have a graduation ceremony, and we'll certainly invite the council president. Gets invited to that, and the mayor. And it's a pretty big event. And we'll push it out on our Facebook, but if they want to recognize them, that's up to the council president. But, any other questions? I know I've gone a little bit longer than I said I was going to go. But once again, and listen, you're never too old to volunteer. Maybe going into the fire, you always can find something. I'm moving on. It was funny. I did something tonight, and I called one of the younger guys. I said, "Can you go on top of the truck for me? I know my limits. I can still move, but I move slower. I still run to that truck." But once again, I like when we interview, and we interview people. We're invited. That's the thing. People say, you actually interview people for volunteers? Yeah, we want to make sure it's going to be a good marriage and it's going to be a good fit. The other thing we're doing is we're giving them the trust of the community. All right? We're walking into your house, and you may not be in there. So we want to make sure that we have the right people. We're the only organization in the entire country that can enter your house without a warrant. That's pretty quite crazy. I mean, that the responsibility, that's what we try to tell them. The responsibility that you have to the residents. Worst day of their life, when we get there, let's try to make it better. That's our motto. That's what we want to do. People just think they drive by that building because that siren doesn't go off. They think we just, nothing going on. It's just the fire station. They're just sitting there. But the guys that have been involved know it's not that way. But anyways, it has been my privilege to be with you folks tonight, especially being in a great organization that's almost as old as ours. Like we're like a couple years difference, maybe.
Yeah, we're 1990.
But so if anything, I can do anything for anybody. My email, yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Yes, I recall when I was going to fire school, the state were very desperate at the time that we need firefighters. And we have a class, the 8 firefighters, but we gotta wait at least 2 years until we get 8 firefighters from the state to send us to the fire school. Well, we went to the fire school at the time, the state accommodated us with 60 hours come time while we were in the school. And I don't, because I was a state worker, that means our time, our schedule, my job, we are arranged for us to just make it to the school.
Yeah. So
And we did it, and I, in 91, I recall we started with a lot of students, and in the end, I don't think we got for all over the county, I don't think that we have 30 graduated a year or something like that. And they were females and males, and we were several females who were graduated that day. And I was very proud because the state educated me. They gave us our tools to work with. And after that, in 2009, I was not able, the fire department in the state closed. I was not able to continue my fire field in another places. And it said fire police. Why? Because I gotta have an emergency surgery with a pacemaker. And I've been working right now on my second pacemaker. I don't mind to do a lot of volunteer work, honestly. I told you that I was going to be a fire police, but there is no way I'm taking the risk right now.
you're too frisky.
And I'll be honest with you, I will encourage when I do my walk-ins or my
Thank you.
medical, I encourage them. Whatever I learned in the fire field as a firefighter, I tell them. And they said, well, how do you know that? I said, you know what, you wanna live alone? That's what we do, different things.
Yeah. So like I said, we're trying. It's if you talk to somebody, it's a great profession, and we are a profession. We just don't get paid. We're volunteers, but we are professionals. And I'm not saying this because I'm the chief of the department. They make me look good. We have an aggressive fire department, bunch of dedicated people, and there's got to be a little something wrong to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, and they do that. They get up at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, putting their meals down on the table. Out the door they go. We're very, very busy. We do need people, and we're going to try to get those people, one way or the other. But we do appreciate everybody's support to us, because we do see that in the community. The community does support the fire department. Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to just thank you for the presentation you did. I know that I already know what you're talking about because I was in the fire field for 10 years, and then I joined the fire police with the Township. And I want to thank you for there are a lot of people that say they learn something, and then you got many pamphlets in there. And
Well, thank you, Ms. Phillips.
Single person like you, especially in your generation, I'm going to just tell them, do something for your country, not for the country can do for you.
There you go. Well, thank you for those comments. And that's it. I'm done. Thank you.